when I was probably 8, my mother pretty much came and said, Don, if you want to go to college, you better start studying and you better start saving. Because 2 older brothers they're going to college and we're not going to have much left.
At the age of 8, so did you get a paper route real quick, or what?
You got it. I got a paper route. Took over my brother's paper route, and then I was not a good student. I wasn't good at school, and I just figured, well, she's probably right. And I had an uncle in New York City who was really obvious result of education, and I could kind of see the contrast. My father, great man, but he was a machinist and
Blue collar background.
Yeah. And my uncle in New York City was the white collar business guy with a college education, and so I said, well, okay, I guess you're right. I'll start saving money and I'll start studying hard.
And this dawned on you at the age of 8, or was this further on down the road?
Yeah, okay. I had a paper route for 10 years. Imagine having a paper route when you're a senior in high school. It was a little bit humiliating. Where are you going? I got to go deliver my papers.
But you were obviously determined to go to college.
I saved up about $3,000 and through high school, which is enough for a first year in college.
Impressive.
So, can you imagine not going to college now for $3,000?
Okay, so you got your undergrad degree in mechanical engineering from Columbia, you said. And did you pursue grad school immediately after, or was there a gap?
I made up my mind. I wanted to get a PhD in engineering when I was 8.
Oh, so you were already on that path.
I was on that path. That was the first, second, and third things I lived, breathed, ate, slept. That was the plan.
Wow. And was it the same for your brothers? Like, did they? No.
They more fell into it, and they were good at it. And it was probably that was sort of the plan, God's plan or their plan or something. But I was just determined. I was driven. It was almost a possession. I was possessed.
That vision.
It seemed like a crazy thing to think about. I mean, growing up in it's really kind of a backwater town, actually large town in Ohio. Hardly anybody knew what MIT was.
Yeah, right. That's pretty ambitious.
It wasn't for the encyclopedia. I wouldn't have known it either. But always wanted to, let's go for it.
Great. And once you finished MIT, what were your career ambitions when you graduated? You had your doctorate. Where did you go from there? What was your mindset in terms of?
I figured if I could become a billionaire, then I could do what I wanted to do. The whole idea of profit has never really made sense to me, and it was a problem a lot of times in the companies that I worked for, because I could see covering your costs for something and maybe making it a little extra, just so you could have a salary. But the idea of, well, we've got to charge what the market will bear. It's like, even if we make this for 20 cents, if we can sell it for $50, wow, what a deal, I'm saying, but it was never something it didn't seem right.
From an ethical standpoint.
From an ethical standpoint. And I just didn't kind of get the whole big picture, I guess.
That was the culture.
No, I was thinking I could bypass all this stuff.
Oh, okay, you wouldn't have to endure.
First of all, I'm a pretty notorious introvert. So I'm not going to be able to ask people for help. I'm not going to be able to get a team to help me do things. So if I can just make a whole bunch of money, and I don't need to worry about asking anybody for help. I can just do what I want to do.
Got it. So what was your plan for earning your fortune?
That's where you kind of fall short, right?
Right.
But I
started buying lottery tickets.
Obviously, I knew that even then I knew I was given a talent of being an engineer, so I should be an engineer. So it should be a way to make a fortune by being an engineer. So, and biomedical was kind of just getting the start there. So I worked for companies that were pretty good on, they were startups and they were doing very well, and each one got a little bit better than the next one. But a lot of it was just doing something that had never been done before.
So the challenge.
An invention. The idea of inventing something is very challenging, very rewarding when you can actually, I don't think anybody's ever done this before.
So were you doing sort of your own inventing on the side as you were?
Yeah. There's always something going on in the garage.
So you were a tinkerer.
Yeah.
And
most of the inventions, though, were for companies I worked for.
Oh, okay.
In fact, all of them were from companies I worked for or started.
But you own the patents.
No, when you work for a company, they own the patents. It's part of it. It's okay. It's a good deal. I mean, they pay your salary, and the patents are expensive too. And so, well, you know, there's a lot of things that I was trying to develop, perfect that had some commercial application. And then I spent about 10 years I kind of cooked up on my own, and it failed. It doesn't. So that was kind of a letdown. The idea was you could wear a Band-Aid and take it off and put it in an envelope and send it to the lab, and they would find out the same amount of information that they would if it was a blood sample or a urine sample. And it worked. It worked extremely well. But it was a challenge to the laboratory because the analysis had to be done differently because the chemicals, the molecules that you're looking for, when they go through the skin, they change a little bit. And so you had to change a lot of your chemical procedures to measure them. But the convenience was extraordinary.
That's fascinating. To me, it almost sounds like there's a component of chemical engineering involved in that, no?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of chemistry in it.
Like for their liking.
It was way out of their thinking of, they'd rather make a better instrument to do the analysis. I mean, if you think about how they collect blood samples now, it hasn't changed for 50 years. It's a vacuum tanger. That was the biggest breakthrough that came through. And for urine, it's a cup. I mean, there's no intentions of making that any better. So why would I think I could sell them on an idea of a patch? And yet we could you could measure bone loss markers with children, women with osteoporosis. You could measure fitness.
So there were clear benefits.
You could measure silent ischemia with it. You can measure molecules that are shed from your heart when you have a silent ischemic event, which you have maybe 100 of before you have a real heart attack. Wow. And so
there's clear benefits.
Yeah, so we were counting our millions.
So was it more of a challenge to sell the idea to them?
That's what killed us, because we couldn't sell it to them. We got it to work. We got FDA approval and a lot of other things. But, and then the bills came in. We couldn't pay the bills, so we had to just close the door and walk away. So I'm thinking, okay, forget about my ideas of being a billionaire.